Hi, welcome to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and this is the handover of an Auto Trail V-Line 636 Sport. So as we start walking down the driver's side of the vehicle first, because this has got a gas tank on, it doesn't take a gas bottle, it holds 25 litres of gas in an underslung gas tank. To check your levels, if you put your key in the ignition and start up, this will then come on with green from low to high, or red on low if the gas tank is empty, and that will indicate that you need to go and fill it up. And to fill it up, this is your filling point. So you'd go to your local LPG centre, remove the cover, it's like a bayonet fitting, so push your filler end on, twist it to lock it in on the bayonet and pull the trigger back. That will pressurise the filling gun, and then just press and hold the button on the pump until simply it doesn't take any more. And from empty, these can take about, depending on how much you pay for gas, between 22 and 26 pound. Next you have your external shower point, so push the blue collar back and remove the black stopper, which is just like a hose pipe end. And with the vehicle you get a hose, and on the other end of the hose you've got a trigger gun, and it just fits in like a hose pipe. As long as the pump's on, you'll get a pressurised flow of cold water to hose the bikes off, the boots, the dogs. Next up you have your mains 230 connection point. So if you are on a site, or if you're at home and you are planning to charge a vehicle prior to your trip, to hook it up, lift the collar, slide the hookup point onto the vehicle first, and then hook the site and do it in reverse order when unhooking. It'll just mean that it's safe when you're holding the lead, but when you unhook it, there's a small blue clip here. So if you just push that down, you'll be able to safely remove the hookup lead. Coming down just below the sill of the van, you've got because it's a condensing boiler, this will drip, and that's normal. It's normal with the wheel because it's a condensing boiler, so that'll just weep from time to time. It's not a problem with the van, it's totally normal. Then you have your fresh water. So if you've taken on a source of contaminated water or you're winterising it, hold the back of the tap and turn it and you'll be able to drain it off. And then you've got your grey, which is your dirty water. So on the way out of your site, drive over that grid, crank this tap open and allow this water out. You don't want to be travelling around with the added weight of dirty water, because once it's dirty, you can't do anything with it, and it's just going to add weight, unnecessary weight to the vehicle, which is going to impact on your payload and the consumption of fuel. So allow it out and then just leave the tap open, slight jar, just so it can rock any loose water out of the vehicle. Making sure that these are both left open in the winter so that no water can freeze and cause any damage to your tanks. Habitation key will open your cassette locker, and to get your cassette out, you'd lift the orange handle and slide it out of the vehicle. Once it's out the vehicle, you can then drag it to your waste disposal point or carry it depending on how heavy it is. And to empty, you would remove the grey cap, popping the grey cap to the side for a moment, starting to pour and pressing the orange button just to allow the water out and all the dispose of the waste. Once you've done that, there's normally a tap, so put some water in, give it a rinse and tip out again before going in where the cap comes back into use as a measuring stick, which is 120 ml of chemical. This can be green or blue, goes into here. If you plan on using the tablets, what I would do is just empty the cassette, flush it out. Once you've flushed it out, put it in, back into the cassette, go into the van and flush a pint of water from the flush into the toilet, followed by a tablet which is in a cellophane wrapper. That'll break down into the chemical, and it's just easier to store on a compact vehicle like this than the bottles, but it's entirely up to you what you use. Coming around the back of the van, you've got your high level brake light and inbuilt reversing camera just at the bottom here. Because it's the Sport, you get the boot lid instead of the barn doors. So pressing the button in the middle, you'll be able to pull it up. It is on gas struts, it's quite a heavy back panel that, with it being the boot lid. In here you do have your outside table base and leg for the tabletop, and your leveling ramps in there. So you can store bits and pieces in here. You've got a lever here, which is a safety release lever if the tailgate won't come up, and you can get to that by removing the back cushions in the lounge. And then in there you do have some storage as well, which is accessible from inside the vehicle. Coming round to the passenger side of the van, you've got your 2 fridge vents, followed by your freshwater intake. So your freshwater intake again opens with a habitation key, so it can be locked where it just turns, or unlocked where you can push it in, get a grip of it and turn it and remove the cap, like so. Carry a hose pipe with some hose pipe fittings, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site, so you need the connection for the site's tap and the flat end into the vehicle. Fill it until it either overflows or until you look on your control panel and think that's enough water on board. Step goes in and out here, but this will automatically retract as soon as you start the engine. If you plan on doing a bit of outdoor cooking, you've got a external gas point there, so for a Kadak or external barbecue. There's a little fitting here which you need to just cut off with on the cable tie there. That'll fit into the bottom of here. Then you'll need some gas hosing and some Jubilee clips to connect it all together from the connection point to the Kadak or external barbecue, and then that'll allow you to turn the tap on. That will use the gas tank on board instead of you carrying a separate bottle to use your Kadak. Fly screen on there. To fill with diesel using the main Fate key, you can unlock and fill with fuel, and then underneath, because it's a new diesel styled engine, it takes 19 litres of AdBlue, and that's a full tank capacity, and that'll do 5,500 miles. Normally when you've got around 1,500 miles left, it'll come up with the warning that it's time to fill up. You can buy it in the 5 or 10 litre drums and top it up. You might want to keep one in the back of the van, or you can buy it on the pumps now, and it's about 150 a litre, and fill it. As soon as it starts to overflow, it's full. Depending on the mileage, depends on how much you do fill that. It might just be a job you do once a year. Tyre pressure, so 5.5 bar, 79.5 psi, front and back. Underneath the passenger seat is where you'll find your toolkit, which has got a jack and a brace and a tow and eye in. Everything that you need to be towed off the road or change the wheel. Underneath this compartment in the floor is where the engine battery lives on the Fiat Ducato. It's not underneath the bonnet, it is underneath the floor, so just remove that cover and you'll be able to put a charger on, or remove the battery and replenish it should you need to. And then your bonnet release is just here. Having a quick look underneath the bonnet, you've got your washer fluid. Remove the cap on here, and this lifts off on the scuttle, and you've got your coolant and brake fluid. .4 oil filler, and then to give or receive a jump start, this is your earthen point, and this is your positive point. Weight plate here, so 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight, 6.5 ton train weight. So if you put a trailer on the back, the vehicle and whatever you're towing can't exceed 6 ton. There is no electronic. The steering rack is now electronic, so there's no hydraulic power fluid, steering fluid, and there is no oil dipstick for checking the levels. It is all done through the dash. To operate your auto trail control panel, you've got your master switch here, which will turn on 12 volt from your leisure battery. Obviously, if you are hooked up, you will get mains to 40 volt household voltage in the vehicle, so you can use all 3-pin plugs. You've got the master switch for your lights, which are all then individually switched around the van. You do have your pump, which you turn on, making sure that you've got enough water, but you do need your pump on to use your taps, toilet or shower, otherwise you're not going to get any pressurised water through the lines of the vehicle, because unfortunately it does need the pump to pressurise the water. Awning light, and then you can scroll through, so you can see your sergeant, unit and its model number. Your leisure battery is charging, so that gives that you're hooked up, and we're at 13.4 volts. Take the hook about to get a true reading of your leisure battery. You can view your vehicle battery at 12.7 and it's got good there. Your fresh water and your wastewater readings. Your select battery always wants to be the leisure because that's the battery that's used to power the motorhome. Don't let that be the vehicle battery. If it is, you can change it here by just pressing. But you always want that to be the leisure because that's the battery that's designed to use the power for the motorhome. Don't let that be the vehicle because it could flatten the engine battery. And you've got the inside temperature and humidity, and you can change your time when the clocks go back and forwards. And that is your auto trail control panel. So to operate your heating and hot water, which is wheel heat air controls, you've got to put your hand within proximity of the controls and it will take them out of sleep mode. So starting off with the heating of the vehicle first, using the plus and minus, you've got frost start, which is approximately 5 degrees, but then you do have to have either the gas or electric on to enable this to work, which I'll get onto in a moment. You've got nighttime mode, which is the moon, which is approximately 15 degrees, and then you can bring it all the way around to the max temperature of 30 degrees. Gas, press it, goes blue, that means the gas is on standby, and then it will go to orange and ignite once it's pulled the gas through to the heater via the gas supply of the vehicle. Once the vehicle has reached its temperature set, the gas will go back onto standby, which is blue, until it drops and the thermostat picks up that it's dropped temperature, and then it will kick back in and ignite to warm the vehicle back up. You'd use gas if you were wild camping. If you were on a site, you can use electric. So you've got 3 different power supply outputs on the gas. So depending on how much electric you've got on your site and what the amperage they're giving you is, you've got one, so just press and hold, you've got one which is 750 watts, you've got 2 which is 1500 watts, and you've got 3 which is 3000 watts. And you can see that's gone on to orange now, which means it's ignited on electric. But you can put the gas on as well, and this is what's called boost. So if you needed to boost the temperature of the vehicle, you can put both on together and it will maximize both sources, which will reduce the time it takes to heat the vehicle. Should you get a red exclamation mark down the side, you've got a reset button here. But what you can do is you can press the red exclamation mark and it will tell you on these codes here, so many bars will light up and it will give you the fault code. But press and hold the button, which will restart the control panel and eliminate the fault. To operate the hot water system, so again you've got frost start, which is 5 degrees, keeps the water in the boiler above 5 degrees, but again you do have to have gas or electric available to the vehicle. Should you not have that in the winter, we strongly advise that you winterize and get rid of all the water on board. You've got eco mode, which heats the water to approximately 50 degrees, and then you've got full heat, which is 70 degrees down here. Gas, if you're wild camping, or you've got 750 watts of electric, 1500 watts of electric, and 3 kilowatts, or 3000 watts should I say, of electric. Press the gas flame, blue means it's on standby. Once it goes to orange, like the temperature for the heating has on gas, it is working on gas. And again, once that water gets the temperature, whatever source you've got it on, whether it be gas or electric, it'll go back onto standby until the water cools down before it kicks back in. So don't worry if you've put it on, it's gone to orange, and then 20 minutes later it's back on blue. Just means your water or your vehicle is up to temperature. And you can see there that they've both come on and they're both working. Again, both settings together is boost. So you might want to boost your hot water if you're in desperate need of hot water for a shower. And then once you've boosted it, just turn your gas off and allow the electric to continue to heat the water if you're on a site, as you wouldn't want to waste your gas when you've paid your site fees to use their electric. And that are your wheel heat air controls. Reset buttons can be found on the bottom of both dials. So on the V-Line 636 you get your double dinette, so you get 2 additional seat belts with a table there as well, which can be removed should you need to, just lifts off. Spinning your 2 carb seats round, and then if you pull this here you can turn and extend the table, so that it means that all 4 of yous round here can sit and dine at the front of the vehicle. So in the kitchen here on the 636, so you've got 3 gas hobs. Once you've had them on, if you do, just allow them to cool down before you put the glass lid down, otherwise you may shatter the glass. Underneath, as your grill pan, you have your grill, and under the grill you have your oven. If you need any parts for your oven, there's a sticker here, model numbers on there. If you're wanting parts for it, if you quote us or any other reputable caravan and motorhome dealer, they'll be able to look on the system and get the right parts for your oven. Russell Hobbs microwave, which is an 800 watt microwave, which is mains connected. The plug for it is in the wardrobe here, so if you ever need to unplug it, you can. And you do have a mains connection plug on the back there as well. Little light for your under counter lights. Storage. Turn the turnbuckle off and you've got a slide out cutlery drawer. So that's where your cutlery drawer lives. Just make sure you do put the catch back on before you travel so it doesn't ping open. So this is just a video showing that your hot water's working, so making sure the pump's on. We've had the hot water on for a while when we've been doing the outside of the van. And as you can see there, the steam's coming off the water. That's extremely hot. The hot water system is working as it should. To operate your Dometic fridge, you've got your on-off button here. So just press and hold and you can turn it off when not in use. And when not in use, you always want to leave the door open. And on the side of the light, you do have this handy little pin. Pushes in, slides out, which means it keeps the door ajar to allow ventilation in and out the fridge to stop smell and mold from forming in the fridge. So to use it, turn it on. This one will illuminate, and that's if you are at home and you're pre-chilling and it's hooked up to mains electric, or you're on a site. So that'll work as a household fridge on 240 volt. If you're on gas and you're wild camping, you'd select gas, and you'd hear it in the background ticking, and it'll self-ignite on gas should you have enough gas on board and your gas be on. And then you do have battery, and it's failing now because the engine's not running, and that's a feed off the engine battery to keep the temperature of your fridge the same as when you departed. So it needs to be pre-chilled, or if you've gone to one site and you've been there a few days or overnight and you're ready to drive off to your next one, you can put on a battery, and as soon as you fire the engine up, it'll get a feed from the engine alternator, and it'll act as a giant cool box until you arrive back on site and either go back onto electric or you go onto gas if you're while camping. Temperature here, so when pre-chilling, always has started on full temperature. Get the fridge down to temperature, and then when you put your shopping in, you may just want to turn it down to 4 or 3, just so it doesn't freeze the contents of the fridge. Remember to clean it out once in a while and leave the door open when you're not using it to avoid smells from forming within the fridge, which will then make your motorhome smell. So electric, gas, 12 volt when you're travelling, to keep the shopping at a steady temperature like a cool box, but it's got to be down to temperature first, and the engine has got to be on. Directly underneath your oven is the location of your boiler drain. So your boiler drain is this yellow toggle here, which is currently pointing towards the cab. When you've finished using it in the winter and you've drained off your fresh, your waste, you've left all your taps open within the van, what you're wanting to do is you want to drain off the boiler, because the boiler holds 10 litres of water at a time, and when not in use, it's very important that you drain it down, because if not, the water could freeze and it isn't covered under manufacturer's warranty for frost damage, as it's your responsibility to drain the vehicle down. So what you need to do is you need to point it towards the driver's side of the vehicle to the washroom door, and it will drain off all 10 litres of water directly out underneath your boiler. Open that up, open your taps, and then put the control panel on. Put the pump on for about 5 to 10 seconds. It'll just squirt any water out that's still in there, and then turn it off. Don't leave it on any longer than that, otherwise it could damage the pump with no water being in. But it does just blow the water that's in the pump out, so it makes sure that the pump is safely winterized as well. When you come to reuse it, back towards the cab in that position there, shut the taps, shut the fresh and the waste, fill the vehicle with water, cold water from outside, which will be over here, comes in here in the tank, pump on, cold side open on the tap, slowly go around the hot. You'll get a lot of air compressed out the tap until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. This is when you know that your boiler has reached maximum capacity of 10 litres in the boiler. At the back you do have your gas taps, so any problems with gas, you can turn off each gas appliance there, or if you wanted to completely shut off the gas, you can turn all of them off so that no gas is physically coming from the tank into the motorhome. But there is a main stopcock on the gas tank at the back underneath the vehicle. In the bottom of the kitchen cupboard there's a fuse spur here, and that's for the electric side to your boiler, so make sure that that's always switched on. If you are having any problems with trying to get the electric side to illuminate and it's not illuminating, just make sure this is switched on, otherwise that could be the cause of problem. You could have knocked it when getting things in and out of your cupboard. In your washroom, which is a wet room, you do have your toilet. So starting off with the toilet, you can spin the toilet round, press the blue button, making sure that the pump's on, and you'll get a fresh water flush. Flush your toilet and put a small amount of toilet water from the flush in the bowl, and then open the blade before you use it, which is this grey lever here. So slide it to the left. That just helps lubricate the seal between the toilet and the top of the cassette. You can now use the toilet, give it a good flush after use, and close the blade to the right. If you want to leave the blade open and try and get the cassette out when it indicates it's full, which you'll get 3 green lights underneath the diagram of the cassette here, it will not come out because the mechanism is engaged. If you're cleaning the bowl and you've bought the twin pack of the pink and the blue, just put some pink in a bottle, dilute it, spray it. It'll do the same thing. It'll get a nice fragrant smell and it will keep this bowl clean. Do not use any harsh bleaches on any of the plastic in the washroom, including the shower tray. Light wipes soap, anything, microfiber cloths, nothing harsh, because you'll take the shine off the toilet, the shower tray and the sink. You've got to use light chemicals to avoid this from becoming discoloured. When winterising as well, make sure you unscrew your shower head from the hose and lie the hose in the shower tray with the mixer tap open. There's your shower curtain, which will come round and press it on to stop the toilet from getting wet. Got a toilet roll holder, towel rail holder and a hanger. And if you push these in, you've got some toiletry sprays, a complimentary bottle of blue for the cassette. You'll get one cap out of that, and you've got your sink. So when you've used this, always tip it up slowly and fold the tap away, as it's got to go into the channel, and if you put too much water in, you can flood the vehicle. And ensure the sink is open, so down like so when travelling, just to avoid it from springing open and giving you a fright when you're driving. So underneath the long bench seat at the back on the driver's side, like I was saying from outside, this is the location of your leisure battery, and you've got a 20 amp fuse here, so that's your main 12 volt battery fuse. But you've also got your EC176 power supply unit from Sargent, which has all your 12 volt fuses in, which are all marked on what amperage and what fuse does which. This side you do have your main trip tester, so if you're struggling and thinking the vehicle wasn't receiving power, if you try and trip her out, if she trips, she's receiving power. If she doesn't trip, the motorhome isn't getting any power through the hookup lead. So it could be the site or where you've got the vehicle plugged into. This needs to be pushed in and illuminated for the heater to work on electric, and that is your charger charging your leisure battery on mains. Leave them as they are. If you have got any problems, this would be the first place I would try, just to see if these have been pushed out, but they should illuminate when hooked up. 12 volt system shutdown button, so this will shut all 12 volt off, including the head unit and reversing camera in the winter. So if you're taking her out for a spin in the winter, which we advise you to do, and you're wondering why the reversing camera and the head unit isn't working, if you've turned this off to stop a 12 volt drain, that needs to be turned on for the head unit to work. The other fuse here and a module, which is your crossover from your cab, I think. And to make the bed up, so you've got two bars which go in here, and the bars sit at the back. So not on this one, on the other side, the bars will be underneath the seat. So if you lift it up, you'll see the bars there. They go in here, these slide out, and then the backrests, which are these, go in the middle here. Or you can pull the base cushions forward and put the backrests at the back. It's entirely up to you. But what I would do is turn the seats upside down, because you get a flatter surface to sleep on, sleeping on the backs of the cushions instead of sleeping on the fronts, which is where you've got your bull nose and your tapered edge. But that's how you'd make the back bed up. Pole for the table is in the wardrobe, which you can put the table at the back there, with the tabletop in here. In the cupboards just behind the washroom, you do have your solar charge selector, so you can select it to go to the vehicle battery when the van is standing, or when in use you can have it to the leisure battery. Note that the leisure battery, when hooked up, gets priority from mains, and the solar panel will go to sleep, but you can distribute the charge to which battery you want through here. And on this side you do have your fixed TV aerial. You've got a booster here, so you can amplify the signal. Should it be too strong or too weak, you can turn it down, and you can turn the booster on and off just here. That will work your TV. So you've got an Avtex television as part of the pack on the vehicle, which is a media pack. But you will have to retune the telly every time you move locations, which is very simple. Press this button here, scroll all the way down to the three dots, all settings, and you want to go to programs, tunings and settings, and you want to do an auto tune on antenna, and it'll search and it'll find as many channels as it can. It'll go up quite quick until it gets to halfway, and that's when it starts to pull in the channels. But that's how you would retune your telly every time you'd move locations. So it's 12 volt your telly, so it'll work when hooked up and when on a site. So when hooked up and not hooked up, should I say, through 12 volt, as long as you've got enough charge in your leisure battery. Your little lights are individual readers, so they're individually switched, and you've got 4 of them in the back lounge here. And as you can see, it's slowed down and stopped, so it's going to start to tune in now on around 40%. In the back lounge, as this vehicle is fitted with a media pack, it comes with the Avtex TV, which is smart, so you can turn it on. Once it's on, you do need to retune it. So you need to retune it through Freeview, which is there's a standard aerial on the roof, which is a fixed aerial. So you've got a boost down one of the cupboards where you can amplify the signal should you wish. But to retune, you just need to go to settings, which is at the top here. So settings on the remote, down to the 3 dots at the bottom, all settings, and press enter. And then what you want to do is you want to go to programs, program tuning and settings, click enter, and you want to do an auto search on antenna, because you haven't got a satellite and you haven't got a cable. But if you did want to fit a satellite in the future, this TV is got an inbuilt satellite receiver, so you would just be able to fit it. This will go really quick until it hits about 50-60%, and it'll start to pull in the channels. So don't panic thinking, oh, it's not working. It will slow down and start to find the channels. So there, it's starting to slow down, and there you go, it's starting to pick up the channels. Once it's done an auto search, we'll come back to you and show you how you would make your telly smart. So in the cupboard above the TV, you've got your TV booster. So make sure it's on, and this is the amplifier. You can min and max the signal. It is a fixed aerial on the roof, so should it be too strong, try turning it down. Should it be still pixelating, try turning it up. You can adjust the signal by just turning this wheel and turning this on, but normally I would just leave this on. It'll go off with the main 12 volt system. Here at the back, you've also got 2 bars. These bars are used to make the bed up. So what you need to do is you've got a groove. So you'd pop one end in here and pop the other end there. Do the same at the back. And then it allows you to extend your beds on both sides. And it bears the weight. Pull these forward, drop your backrests in at the back or the front. It's entirely up to you, but I would turn everything upside down if I was you, just so you get a flatter surface to sleep on. And there you've got your double bed made. You can remove those as well if you want to sleep this way, but you do sleep across the van and you've got a large double bed made like that.